One of the first experiments that we'll do in documentary, which is how a documentary filmmaker trains himself, is to go and sit and place himself in the real world and try and observe. Because it's so important for us that to be able to make films about the real world, we should first train ourselves to see that real world. So that is what we call the observation report. That is going to be the first experiment that we'll be doing. We'll be going into a real world. It could be a market, it could be a railway station, it could be a roadside shop, it could be a mall, it could be a cinema hall, any place which is real, any place which is public. And you go and sit there and you observe. And as you observe, your vision narrows down to certain characters. Your vision narrows down to certain events which takes place in this real world, in this real space that you are sitting in. So as you observe and you train yourself to observe, it's important. We have to learn how to see. Nowadays we are so involved with our own, cell phones, with our own thoughts, with our own imaginations, that we hardly notice the real world. So it's very important for us as non-fictional filmmakers to be able to interact and to observe the real world. So that is going to be the first experiment that we're going to do. We're going to give some time to this real world. We're going to sit there and we'll begin by taking notes. And that is what I call an observation report. That we're going to have a note, a report that we'll make in terms of our experience of observing that reality. And of course, it'll take some time to really begin to see, as they say. Because observation is not just seeing, observation is also noticing. So the observation report is going to be the first experiment. Go into any public space and sit and watch and see how reality presents itself to you. It might be boring in the beginning. You might find nothing happening. You might find ordinary things happening. But the whole point is that once you start looking and once you start noticing, you will see things. You will see things in the reality which suddenly springs up in your interest. And that is how your training for non-fiction will begin. Your training to start seeing the world as your set. Your training to start seeing the real world or real people as your characters. And of course, that is how you're going to develop your instincts for documentary films. Now, of course, I'll be using the term documentary film a lot more than I will use non-fiction. Because non-fiction is like I said, has its smaller forms. But in a very true sense, documentary is non-fiction. So, and the observation report or the observation exercise is going to be your first training to understand what is non-fiction.